Channel. And once again I'm here with a topic called data binding in Android. So in my previous lecture I described about data binding, most especially for the views, but in this chapter I'm gonna describe you about data binding in Android for data. Okay, so especially the data class that we try to bind the data directly to the view. Okay, so if you want to know more about data binding in views, you can just check out my previous lecture or previous videos, uh, and you can also follow my this blog post. Okay, I have explained here more data binding in for views as well as also for the data. So in today's lecture I'm gonna describe you about data binding for data. So what is data binding for data? Actually, for data binding for data is especially done for the data class. Okay, so the data is directly available to the views. Okay, so actually the real power of data binding is binding the data. Okay, so and that the actually this will make your code very simpler, and it will help you to reduce the code size also and make your app development process really fast, because you don't need to make extra reference calls and stuff like that. So without making any delay, let's start how to do data binding for data. Okay, so the first step is we create data class for name. Okay, so actually I have already created a data class for with this person. And then the second step is so instead of storing them in the string resource, we make them property data, and then bind the data to the views. We make our data bind with the views. So actually I have to I see, you see that I have an info fragment which has this layout, which is inflating this layout, which is simple layout having a personal information, name and nickname. So I'm inflating this two data, that is I'm binding this data directly, name and nickname, directly to the layout. Okay, so how can we do that? Okay, so for the moment we are using just a normal text. I mean, okay, so uh, normally the text I'm just displaying here. As you can see, I'm using a namespace that is called tools namespace to just display in the this layout. So now I will teach you how to do the data binding. Okay, directly binding the value to the proper layout. Okay, proper views. Okay, with the proper data. Okay, so the second step is we have to create this data block in the XML file, then add the variable block to our variable. So let's add the data block, then also let's add the variable block. The variable block consists of a name and type. The name is actually the name of the data class that you have created, and type is actually the is the fully qualified name of the class that you have created. So where is my, actually it's this one. Okay, so where is my fragment? Is this one? Model dot person. Okay, so this is the fully qualified name of the data class that I have created. Okay, so now let's bind the data to the view. So how we bind the data to the view is, let's go to the text. We bind it using this way. Okay, person dot name. Okay, so in this way we bind directly the data to the views. So text, okay, so now we have already bind the data to the view. Okay, as you have seen in this third step. And now this gives us actually the reference of data. uh, but actually also we need to create the actual data. So actually data should be created here in the info fragment. So we have to bind the data from create the new data and then bind the data. Okay, so let's create the new data. um, okay, so I am creating a new data here. One second. Person. Okay. Okay, so the name of the person is, and the nickname is Zonke. Okay, and also we have to do the data binding. Okay, info binding. Okay, and okay, so we have to, okay, here I will also teach you how to bind the data for fragment. How do we do data binding for fragment in with fragments? So when you do a data binding for fragments, we have to use to do in this way. Info binding is utils dot inflate, because as you remember in the main activity, when we in my previous lecture we use set content view when we, okay, to bind the to create a data binding, right? But here we use inflate for fragment. Okay, so that's the difference. So we inflate with the inflator, and then we also layout dot fragment info container, and attached to parent is false. Okay, so and we have to return a view, so we return a view using info binding dot root. Okay, so finally, and on view created, we have to also update data binding object. Okay, so we have to actually update the data binding. Okay, let's create a function for this one. Okay, so we have to actually update the data binding object. That is, how do we update the data binding object? We update using info binding dot person equals to person. Okay, this person, right? Okay, so right now if we run the app, we must see that this data is already binded. I mean, like the this value has already a data provided by this I mean, like the object that we created. Okay, it's like Niran and Junkie. So let's check it. So if you click here, if you see here, I have already, the data binding is already there, right? So it's completely cool stuff. So I would suggest you guys, everybody, to use data binding and make your code very simple, and also make it will help you to create application in a very like a cool way, you know, like it will create your, it will make your application building process really fast. Okay, so thank you for your kind presence. I mean, like thank you for following me, and like if you have not subscribed yet, just subscribe me, and like follow me to learn more cool stuffs about Android app development, and also the latest technological stuff for in Android development. Okay, so thank you. Bye bye.